So my fiance's mom does a background check on me. She doesn't think that I'm good enough for her kid. And also, she's just trying to prove that I came from a very mediocre family. Well, guess what? My mom can play those same games. But what my mom discovered is not only a secret, but it's a secret that is going to change the lives of my in-laws forever and put them on the news, a pedestal, deceit, betrayal. This story has it all.
Hello everyone, this is an embarrassing post. I have no one in my life I can really consult for a second opinion, so I'm on the internet looking for answers. First off, to start the story, my name's Elaine. I work as a PR manager for a chain of luxury home decor stores. This is where I met my current fiancé, Alex. So it all began with a whirlwind romance, the kind that sweeps you off your feet and makes you believe in fairy tales. Alex walked into the store with his assistant, Rachal. Rachal did not allow our employees to interact and get a feel for what Alex was looking for at all. Instead, she just demands while Alex walked out to take a call. Our business does not work that way. We operate with the customer directly, trying to understand the event or home that they're decorating. It usually at least takes more than one session, and she was also demanding furniture and decor and custom colors and designs, which took weeks. All of this escalated to her furiously yelling at our employees, Andrea, who started crying. I was in the store to check on a new manager, and this incident infuriated me beyond anything, so I went and started defending Andrea while Rachal started throwing out empty threats. This was when Alex walked in. Confused about how the situation had heated up so much, Alex immediately shut down Rachal and quietly listened while I explained to him the problems with the demands his assistant was making. Confidently, he took it all in and surprisingly apologized for his assistant's behavior. It turns out the furniture was for a charity gala hosted by his parents' philanthropic trust. He brilliantly maneuvered the crowd of employees to calm down with his magnetic charm and confident demeanor. Alex, after diffusing the situation, invited me and Andrea to the venue to decide for ourselves what decor would fit the vibe. I reluctantly agreed, and we went the next day. Alex there guided us through the venue and gave us a lot of details regarding the celebrities from Silicon Valley that would be present. Alex was also not subtly hitting on me. I was immensely impressed by this level of charisma, but I had a rule to never mix business with pleasure. Andrea and I pitched the ideas that we had, and a week later all of that mess was solved, but Alex would not let me go. Anyone would jump at the opportunity to date Alex Ferguson, heir to the Freguson-Wenger business. A nice, wealthy, eligible bachelor would be a dream for anybody, but I was afraid. I come from almost nothing, and my dad was a policeman. My mom was a small-time accountant, so all the wealth and privilege he comes from would definitely crash against my perception of the world. But Alex was too charming to let me down. So I agreed on a date. On that date, he made me completely forget my doubts, and I was swept off my feet, and I agreed to be his girlfriend. Fast forward nearly 2 years. Alex popped the question, filling my heart with joy and excitement, but on the other hand, I felt like it was too soon. I had only met his family once during this whole period at a big party hosted by his mother. So I tried to persuade him to take his time with the wedding. I agreed to be his fiancé, but told him that the wedding had to wait. Alex reluctantly agreed to it. I also pushed him to arrange a dinner with his parents sometime. I think people's honest characters come out when they eat. Alex agreed and went off on a business trip, and he would not be back for nearly a month. So I went about my life with an empty feeling. That's when my friends told me that I was being followed by a car. It turns out the car had followed me from the office to where I met them at the bar. Well, I have a friend, Jared, who's our friend group's gay best friend. We danced with him, take him out with the girls and everything, and he was the one who told me that the car became suspicious, paranoid and drunk. I called Alex in the middle of the night to let him know, and he just completely dismissed it and mocked me for being such a baby. The week after, he came back and he invited me to their family estate in Montana. I was finally going to meet the elusive Wayne Ferguson and Coleen Wenger. This was exciting news. I was told it would be casual, nothing serious, just a dinner between family. I still dressed up for the occasion, and thankfully I did. Alex's parents had invited a bunch of their relatives and family friends for dinner. Even Alex did not really know about it. Petrified and sweaty, I ate my food and made little conversation. There were whispers all along the table amongst the obvious loud conversations. I guessed it was about me and Alex. Finally, his mother directly addressed me at the table and started making conversation. She asked me for basic details about my job, family, and upbringing, but I could feel that she was prodding for something deeper. She was judging me, judging whether I would be a good or not for her only son. Wayne, which was Alex's dad, on the other hand, completely ignored me. I just mostly got a smile out of him. Though they were cold to me during most of the dinner, I could feel that I had passed some kind of test. This was good news, since the first time Alex came over for dinner at my place, my dad was not impressed at all. He had to work hard to earn my dad's respect, and he's proud of that. Although, as time went on, I never got an invite back for dinner for nearly a year. Finally, after 3 years of dating, Alex and I decided that we would get married. As we started planning our dream wedding, we faced the inevitable task of discussing the details of the wedding with each other's families. Alex's family was well known in high society, and I could not help but feel a mixture of anticipation and apprehension about the guests that would be there by his side. The day finally arrived, and we both sat down and spoke to Wayne and Coleen, whom I've discovered had a reputation for being astute and formidable. We gathered at their luxurious estate, a sprawling mansion that oozed opulence. As I stepped into their world, I was greeted by his parents, and with polite smiles and scrutinizing gazes. Over dinner, I felt their eyes on me, assessing every word I said and every gesture I made. It was both unnerving and exhausting, but I held my own. At least this time there was not a crowd doing the same thing. I was determined to show them that I was genuine in my love for Alex. However, as the evening progressed, it became clear that his mother, Coleen Wenger, had more than a passing interest in me. During a lull in the conversation, Coleen leaned in, fixed me with a pointed look, and she told me she was very curious about my background. Alex seemed irked by this sudden suggestion, but Coleen told me she wanted to be direct since this was a matter of the future of both families. I exchanged puzzled glances with Alex before turning my attention back to his mother and telling her she could ask me anything. I've always been an open book, and she smiled, but there was a calculating light in her eyes that made me a bit uneasy. She asked about my life and upbringing again, but this time she was searching for something specific. But I shared the story of my upbringing, growing up in a modest neighborhood with parents who had worked hard to provide for my siblings and me. It was a story of struggle, to be honest, of learning the value of hard work and humility. Coleen just nodded along and seemingly satisfied with my response. She then just congratulated me on my effort to rise from rags to riches. Though I was not quite sure how to interpret her comment, I just nodded politely, hoping to move on to a lighter topic. Jeez. However, Coleen had other plans. She then diverted the topic towards work and charity auctions that was coming up, and she wanted help with redesigning their estate halls to suit the occasion. I politely agreed to help her, though her demands were phrased in a way I could not really refuse. I kept exchanging glances with Alex, who seemed equally surprised by his mother's line of questioning. I mean, for one, he seemed happy that his mother was taking an interest enough to include me in her plans, but he could sense the tone was off. But my love for Alex has nothing to do with his wealth, so I did it. A few days after the dinner, however, I met Coleen to discuss her charity auction idea, and I was snubbed and insulted. First, her assistant made me wait for like an hour in her office, and then Coleen told me to meet her at their house rather than her office. When I arrived there, she just ignored me and spoke to her friends. Finally, when I figured out she was just wanting to waste my time, I walked out. I got a call from Alex later. He was absolutely furious. It turns out his mother told him that I'd ignored her request and walked out mid-discussion. I was at this point completely over treating her like a queen, and straight up telling Alex the truth and cutting the call. I needed some space and time to cool down. The next day I called Alex, who was apologetic about the fight, and turns out the maids had told him what had exactly happened, but he could not understand his mother's commands. She apparently told him that she always believed that money was a way of revealing people's true motivations and that it's a shame when someone's intentions are not genuine. Alex also told me his parents have always done background checks on his girlfriend's families and made sure to, quote, keep him safe. So he wanted to postpone the wedding for a while to convince his parents that we were for real. This was beyond insulting, as you can imagine. She was implying that I was only with Alex for the money. Her words lingered in the air, creating an uncomfortable atmosphere. I struggled to find the right response, torn between defending my feelings and avoiding conflict. That evening, I went home and shared my concerns with my parents, and my mother's voice took on a conspiratorial tone. She wanted to do some background research on them before the wedding preparations could even go ahead. I was taken aback by the suggestion, but I agreed and let them proceed. My aunt was the chief editor of the local newspaper, so with her help, both my parents started looking into the Freguson-Wenger Foundation and associated donations. The revelations were absolutely shocking. My mother explained that they had discreetly started looking into Alex's family background, prompted by Coleen's insinuations. They had discovered that while the Freguson-Wenger projected an image of wealth and prestige, their financial success was largely a facade. Debts and failed business ventures, well, they were hidden beneath the veneer of opulence. They also had a history of lawsuits settled outside of court, which were mainly filed by former employees over abusive work environments. My dad also discovered from some of his old buddies in the police force that one of the pieces at the charity auction coming up was actually stolen from a debt collector. I listened on in shock, struggling to process the information. My parents, who had always been practical and cautious, had uncovered a side of Alex's parents that I have been blind to. It was a hard pill to swallow, realizing that the family I was about to marry into might not be as genuine as they appeared. As the truth sank in, I found myself torn between confronting Alex and pretending I knew nothing. But the weight of honesty and authenticity compelled me to have a difficult conversation with him. We sat down in our cozy living room, the space that had witnessed countless moments of laughter and love, and I shared everything my parents had discovered. Here's where I stand. I cannot let my friends know about this since it'll become the talk of the town soon enough. Also, they would want me to end it all with Alex. I still believe that Alex is innocent in all this, so I'm asking here on the internet, what do you all think I should do next? Update number 1. I understand that this is just a post and it's gotten a bit too popular and has now even made it into the mainstream type news on the internet. I never expected this to happen, but given that I was talking about quite famous people in my area, I guess this was to be expected. Anyways, the media has portrayed Alex and his family and me in a very cruel and sometimes completely wrong way. I'm here to tell my side of the story. So last time, after asking for help from you guys, I went back to my day-to-day life, trying my best to ignore the swirling storm of revelations. Uncertainty gripped my heart, and the once clear path I thought I was on had become a labyrinth of questions and deceit and disheartening truth. I knew that this was a turning point, a crossroads that would shape the course of my future. I wanted to confront Alex, but it was too afraid that it would ruin the last essence of positivity I had left about the whole ordeal. Days went by in a haze as I grappled with my emotions and the information my parents have uncovered. It was difficult to concentrate on anything else, let alone my work at the luxury home decor stores. Each day I exchanged messages with Alex, our conversations, unspoken tension. I felt the weight of the secrets I now carried and the knowledge that they could shatter the fairy tale image that Alex and I had built. Well, the news began to seep into the story in an unexpected way. One morning, as I scrolled through my social media feed, a headline caught my eye. Ferguson, the empire of the Wengers, a house of cards? The article delved into the intricate web of financial struggles, questionable business practices, and legal controversies that had plagued the family for years. It was a shock to see the veneer of prestige unravel before the public eye, confirming the hidden truth my parents had indeed uncovered. As I read through the detailed exposé, the weight of the situation intensified. It was no longer a secret confined to the confines of thoughts of family discussions. It was now a matter of public discourse. The comment section was filled with a mix of disbelief, sympathy, and condemnation. The world was watching, and the facade that the Ferguson family had carefully constructed was crumbling. I somehow felt relieved of the immense burden of secrets, but also terrified of what I might have caused. Since the initial reports did not mention this post at all, my parents even called me surprised by the news. They had assumed I had secretly just let it slip straight to the media because Alex and his family were not willing to acknowledge the deeds. But I assured them that this had nothing to do with me. What did I know back then? I knew that I would not remain silent any longer. The foundation of any strong relationship is trust, and the revelations about Alex's family had eroded that trust. And the revelation, well, it gave me a heavy heart. I sent Alex a link to the article and requested that we meet to talk. His response was definitely a mix of shock, disappointment, and anger. He was clearly grappling with the reality of his family's secrets were now out in the open. So, we met at a park, and we were sharing countless moments of joy and contemplation, and the atmosphere was heavy with the weight of our emotions, and we began to unravel the complexities of the situation. Alex was both furious at his parents for deceiving him and devastated by the tarnished legacy that they had left him. He admitted that he had suspected some of these issues, but had chosen to ignore them, hoping that the love and determination could overcome any obstacles. I, too, shared my struggles, the internal conflict of wanting to believe in the genuine nature of our love while grappling with the undeniable truth that had now come to light. We both acknowledged that our relationship was built on a foundation of authenticity, and that foundation had been shaken to its core. But we were determined to navigate this storm together, to sift through the debris of the past and to emerge stronger, whether together or apart. As we sat there, vulnerable and uncertain, I received a message on my phone. It was from Rachal, Alex's former assistant. She sent me a voicemail from the first journalist who had broken the news. That was the final shock for me. John Bapstein was browsing through, the internet when he found my post and researched it on his own, furious that I was the reason for this absolute humiliation to the family. Then I received the blackmail text from her, saying I had to leave Alex and his entire family alone or she would expose this to the family and get me thrown out anyways. This was another blow to my life. Alex was right next to me, completely distraught, and at that moment I realized that the only way this relationship would survive was if I was honest. So I told him. I told him everything. I told him all about the post and how it's gotten leaked, which is probably the reason for all this public bashing to his family. Completely stunned by this, Alex just walked away to his car. He then sent me a text saying that our relationship's completely over and we would never speak again. Now, this is where I stand. All of this happened a week ago, and I'm aware that there's an ongoing police investigation regarding the stolen artifact, and Freguson-Wenger's business dealings are being examined by the IRS. But I just wanted to make sure that my side of the story, which none of the journalists asked but theorized about unfairly, was told by me. I'm at a fault for turning this into a public mess, but I'm not guilty of committing those crimes. Now, Alex, even though he will side with his family, is innocent. At least according to me. There'll probably be no updates in the future, thank you. Update number 2. I know I said there would be no updates, really, and it might be the last one, but since the media and people on the internet have taken it upon themselves to become judges in my life, I want to clear some things up. First of all, the days following the breakup were very hard. It had been a while since I had woken up and felt extreme loneliness. The aftermath of the confrontation with Alex left me feeling like I was standing on the edge of a building, staring onto an obscure future. Well, the news would not let go of our breakup, which, by the way, was fueled by the media's relentlessness covered by the Freguson-Wenger family scandal. Entire America suddenly began dissecting our relationship, and I found myself inundated with the messages of support, skepticism, and even accusations. Strangers on social media have taken it upon themselves to become armchair detectives, piecing together our story from snippets that they've seen. They were those who empathized with my situation, however, understanding the complexity of love and deception. Then there were others who were on Coleen's side and deemed me a gold digger, accusing me of trying to tarnish the reputation of a wealthy family. In the midst of this chaos, my friend sent me a freaking article, the one I know, or at least everyone's even read about. See, the headline was sensational, and I quote you this: Betrayal, Deception, Art of Revenge. The Elaine Alex saga. The article was a sensationalized, account of our relationship, weaving together half-truths and wild speculations to create a narrative that painted me as the ultimate villain. This was the last straw. As I read the distorted versions of events, anger and frustration bubbled within me. It was as if the media had taken my vulnerability and spun it into a juicy story for the public. Consumption and, well, the narrative they've constructed was far from reality, manipulating emotions and playing with the respect my family and I had earned over the many years. I wanted a way to fight back, to turn this into an equal footing. I was already fired from my job, so I did not even have a distraction from this frenzy. That was when I got a call from Richard. He was a local radio host who did a bit of journalism, and Richard felt quite sorry about my role in the media, so he decided it was time to reclaim my story. I went on his show. I poured out my side of the story accurately. The show gets a lot of phone calls as well, where people on both sides called in to express their opinions, and these clips, so-called, are already viral. So, you can hear my voice quivering with anger and hateful callers. The resulting articles were a stark contrast to the sensational tabloid stories that have been circulating. They started taking sides on whether I was the perpetrator trying to escape the cases by pinning them on Alex's family or was truly a victim. In between the public trials of the Freguson-Wenger businesses, I got a phone call from a public prosecutor. They wanted me to take the stand and give a chance of a character evaluation of Wayne and Coleen. Well, I agreed and started preparing my side of the story. Yet, as the media storm raged on, the truth was rarely the purpose of these outlets. But the bigger problem was that Rachal, Alex's former assistant, was true to her word. She had sent evidence of my post and interaction with Alex's family, further escalating the tension and animosity between us. The Freguson-Wenger group was enraged by the public exposure of their secrets and their perceived betrayal. The public prosecutors told me that I would be defended by them since they could see I was innocent. The threat of a lawsuit no longer loomed over me. They were trying to get their best to fear me into silence, and it failed. Finally, I would get a day in court against the bigoted giants. Well, amidst the legal battle and public scrutiny, I continued to grapple with my emotions. Despite the chaos and heartbreak, and a part of me, it still held on to the memories of the love and connection I shared with Alex. When I finally got a chance to talk in court, I was cross-examined for my statement against Alex's parents, but I was honest about my feelings about Alex. I truly believe he did not know much about what happened behind the scenes in their company. I saw the briefest smile crack on his face at court but it was shut down when I honestly told them about the treatment I've received from his parents. Though it hurt a little, I wanted my revenge. My whole family had been dragged into this mess. Driven by a mixture of curiosity and determination, I asked the public prosecutors if I could help them in any way and delved into the intricate web of the Freguson-Wenger business empire. I would uncover connections, lawsuits, and financial discrepancies that they had buried beneath layers of deceit. Many journalists who had wanted to publish more real pieces about this fraudulent business empire, but were shut down, came forward and helped us. The trail was long, arduous. As we pieced together the puzzle, I realized that my story was just a small fragment of a much larger narrative. A narrative that I had been carefully woven to protect the family's reputation, even at the cost of their own son's happiness. The media's portrayal of me as a gold digger was a smokescreen, designed to divert attention from the truth that they were desperately trying to hide. With each revelation, I grew more determined to share the truth with the world. Together, we embarked on a journey to expose the layers of deception that had snared not only me, but countless others who had been fallen victim to the Freguson-Wenger empire. The resulting investigation was a labor of love and testament of the power of truth and resilience. So, it was becoming more and more evident in court that the empire would fall. This was when I got a personal message from Alex. He wanted to meet me. Confused and mostly airy, I agreed. He met at a park, making sure no one followed us, and he had grown thin after these 7 months. That charming laugh that I once knew, that made me swoon, was no longer there. He tried to make small talk, but eventually gave up and cried. He did not want me to continue the lawsuit. I told him it was never up to me. It's the state of California against his parents' company. This made him turn defensive and he yelled, but I could see that he was not yelling at me, but rather at his parents. I showed him the last part of the evidence that we were forming. This was the right hook that would end it all. It was a meticulously researched expose that laid bare the extent of the Freguson-Wenger family's deception. It was a narrative that extended far beyond my own experience, encompassing the stories of former employees, business partners, and even those who have been manipulated into silence. The truth was very shocking, revealing a family that had wielded power and influence and shielded themselves from accountability, and Alex had no words. He just stared at his future and told me to duck off. This time I laughed. I knew I've won. I did not need the court to side with me anymore. I had turned the tables completely on them. I was happy. No more remorse for a pathetically rich baby Alex. I was fully determined to see through with this. Finally, the court decision rung in. The entire business empire had to pay almost $1 billion in settlements, $800 million, and a lot of employees were even given jail time, including old Wayne himself. Alex was left with a warning to clear up and modify the structure of the company and make regular reportings. The Freguson-Wenger business was split up now, with his uncle taking up the majority responsibility, leaving Alex with almost nothing. On the other hand, seeing my interest in law, I started my degree. It'll be a decade before I take up any serious cases, but it gives me a bit of hope that however big the enemy is, I can crush them with a passion for justice.
Okay, so this story was absolutely insane. Guys, I tried looking up the people that were in this story. I don't know if they changed the names or what, but I could not find any family under this name in the California state that went through fraud or anything. Yeah, this story might not be real, but just imagine for a second. It could be, and besides that, think of all the other families that could have gone through something similar to this. I mean, I can't even imagine having that kind of money and being exposed for basically fraud. A lot of the commenters, though, were saying how OP was completely out of line by making that post on the internet, which basically blew up her marriage, blew up her family, and made everybody question and think twice about the situation. So I want to hear from you guys directly. What do you think about this? Do you think OP is the a-hole for making that post and basically bringing to light all the wrongdoings, or do you think it was a necessary thing to do? Drop it downstairs in our comment section. My name's Mr. Reddito. I narrate stories every single day. I hope to see you guys tomorrow. Smash that subscribe button. Catch you then. And just remember one thing. It's cool to be kind. See ya!